Welcome back to Health Hacks. I'm Tara, and today I'm here with Dr. Jenny, and we are talking about the forgotten woman. Are you fatigued despite sleeping, stuck with weight that won't budge, concerned it might be your hormones or your thyroid, but you've been told your labs are just fine? Today, we recognize you, the forgotten woman, why you're not crazy, and the real solutions to your concerns.
So, traditional labs are designed to detect disease but not dysfunction. There's a humongous wide reference range that's really not based on optimal health. You can be quote unquote normal but not optimal and not feeling well. And oftentimes your symptoms get brushed off as aging or stress.
So we hear this all the time coming into our office. Ladies or men who are told you're just getting older or it's all in your head, but your physiology always tells a different story. So let's break down the patterns we see most, starting with the most common forgotten woman who enters our door. Maybe you recognize her. She is so tired. She is tired of being tired, thinning hair despite her efforts of eating well, working out, and the scale just keeps going up.
So let's talk about the thyroid, because that's a big one. People have concerns about it, and it's actually estimated that 1 in 5 women have some kind of thyroid dysfunction.
Yeah.
And most of the time they're not even offered any kind of thyroid screening test on their labs. So, and if they are, they're getting something called a TSH marker, and that's the only marker they're getting. And this drives me nuts because that's not even a thyroid marker. It's a pituitary, it's secreted by the pituitary gland. And it just tells your pituitary gland how to communicate with the thyroid. But the most common issues with the thyroid are that women aren't converting the inactive T4 form of the hormone into the active form, and that's not being picked up on a TSH only test. Stress has a huge impact on thyroid signaling. Gut health, liver health, and immune system dysfunction, like autoimmune conditions, have a huge impact on the thyroid, and those are just not those questions are not being asked, and those tests are not being done. And we see quote unquote subclinical patterns that really create problems, meaning that the reference ranges that are being used to say that your thyroid is fine they're so vast, and they don't really paint the picture. So many people are symptomatic and have problems that they're like one number short of being outside of the reference range and told, oh, everything looks great. Well, no, not really. You have to look at the whole thing. They still feel awful, and they want someone to break that down with them and test that and explain that. So some of the symptoms that we see with thyroid patterns out of the optimal range are thinning hair, cold intolerance, like you're freezing all the time, constipation, fatigue, dry skin, weight resistance. So let's talk about real people and what this looks like. So probably the most common thing that I see is someone that comes in and their thyroid stimulating hormone, or their TSH, is in a fine range, right? And they've been told by their doctor that everything's fine. But then when we run about 8 markers on a full thyroid panel. So once we run that on somebody, I've seen where they're producing a ton of antibodies to their thyroid. So that means that their body is breaking down their thyroid gland actively right now. The problem is that's early, right? So that TSH doesn't change right away.
Right.
But we were able to catch this. You're able to catch it, and then you're able to intervene and work something called, we call it an autoimmune web. Like when somebody's immune system is hyped up and overregulated and breaking down anything, including the thyroid, then we want to intervene early so we have a chance to address this before. If you wait until the thyroid is completely destroyed, you have no other choice but to go on a medication.
Right.
And that's what the medical answer is, that they just say, well, your immune system's attacking your thyroid. Once it's totally attacked and killed it, then we'll just put you on some T4 thyroid hormone. And no, that women don't like that. They would much rather say, wait a second, hold the phones. Let's find out early why is my immune system attacking my thyroid? Is it attacking anything else? Because it probably isn't a good idea for my immune system to run around overregulated, breaking down my own body. I should probably figure that out and not wait around until, okay, well, your thyroid's destroyed. We'll just go ahead and give you some hormones now. So that's not the way we want to do things. And not only that, the symptoms go away when you do that too. People feel better. So it's not all just about changing numbers on a lab. It's like these are real people that feel better when you do that. So many times thyroid symptoms also are worsened by blood sugar instability. And so I'll hand that over to Tara to talk about that, because we see this all the time.
Yes. So your blood sugar instability can cause, really, it's the foundation of your health, but it is related to so many other systems. And particularly, we're talking today about hormones. So your thyroid health, your adrenal health, your female hormones, or your sex hormones. And so one of the areas that we see this become more significant and more obvious is for women who enter into that perimenopause stage. And so this is where you're not going through, maybe you're not having hot flashes yet, maybe you're in your over 35, but you're starting to notice that your midsection is maybe a little, softer than it used to be. Maybe you're gaining a little weight. Maybe you're having afternoon crashes or sugar cravings or brain fog. And so all of these, if you were to look at your blood sugar, I mean, we use a continuous glucose monitors to help people monitor their blood sugar, because sometimes you don't even know that you feel these symptoms, but you're not making that connection between that and the nutrition that you're getting throughout your day. And then you're noticing that your energy is not good, but you aren't for sure on how to correct that. And so that's where we really come alongside and really guide women into finding an eating plan and a nutrition plan that's going to help stabilize their blood sugar. So blood sugar imbalances, really, you may start noticing that in your perimenopause stage and those metabolic changes. Insulin decline reduces your insulin sensitivity. So when your blood sugar increases or rises after post-meal, your pancreas emits insulin and brings it back down. That's a normal response. And then it carries it into your muscles. And if you're that system isn't working well, it's called insulin resistance. So it's when that insulin isn't able to get into those cells. And then on top of that, as we age, we lose muscle mass. And so the bigger your muscle mass and the more that you're exercising and creating that good muscle mass, the better the system works. But as we age, we lose that naturally. So if you're not doing something to be proactive in that, and or we'll have more insulin resistance. And so that also impacts that picture during perimenopause and those metabolic changes. So you can have a normal glucose on your lab and still have insulin resistance patterns. So just having a normal fasting glucose isn't going to be giving you that full picture. And so we do actually several markers that look at blood sugar handling. We do look at your glucose, but we also look at how's your insulin resistance, how's your hemoglobin A1C. We look at triglycerides and your HDL ratios. And then, like I said, we can also use some devices like a continuous glucose monitor that will tell you things that you can't see even even when you're in your waking hours. So maybe some of your issues are happening overnight. All the time women will come in and they'll have disrupted sleeping patterns, or they'll wake up at 3 a.m. And this is a typical picture of what it looks like when your blood sugar is not being balanced throughout the day. And so for the perimenopause woman, I understand you. I am in my 40s. I don't know how I got here, but somehow I'm here. I'm raising teenagers, and we're just on this roller coaster ride because we're kind of that sandwiched individual, or you're still raising kids, but maybe you're also have some more responsibilities at work, and maybe you have sometimes patients will tell me they have parents that they're taking care of. So you're kind of in the middle here. And then you're at the same time, all that happens, your hormones go crazy. And so you're having a hard time with maybe balancing your weight, or all the things that you used to do no longer work. And so you have some energy changes. And I've noticed this. I remember there's a picture of me at 39, or maybe it was like right around my birthday at 40. And I was thinking, I am on top of the world. Like, this is like my best year. And I wish somebody would have told that girl, hey, next year is going to be a little more challenging for you, and here's what you can do. Because I didn't change my eating plan. Like, I was still doing all the things I'd been able to do in my 20s and 30s, but all of a sudden I just watched the scale day after day, just a pound just kept going up. I hadn't changed anything. And so then I really had to dial in and do some labs and look at my blood sugar handling and look at my macros. Like, just adding some protein into my diet was so beneficial. And so that's what we love doing, is like getting the evidence through labs, and then just being able to really guide you through this crazy time called perimenopause. And so luckily for myself, I hadn't have a lot of mood changes, but we see that a lot in women, that they're, your kids getting, you're more irritable, and you're responding quicker to your kids than you never used to be that way, or maybe your husband's noticing. And so these are things that we love, being able to just let you know you're not crazy, and this is just a part of your life where we can kind of help you transition into that next phase. And so just a few other key takeaways here. Your blood sugar instability drives inflammation. So this is huge. This can change the course of your health if you start retaining inflammation, chronic inflammation, and then your hormones change and fluctuate with blood sugar instability. It causes a lot of stress on your thyroid, and then it can cause what's called adrenal burnout, which does bring us to the next topic. I'm going to cover just kind of an overview of your adrenal health, and then we'll let Dr. Jenny kind of finish up here with our perimenopause woman. But the adrenal health, what we tell women all the time, Dr. Jenny both have said this, what you do now during perimenopause and in your adrenal health is how well you're going to transition into your menopause.
Absolutely.
And so this is really important for really every woman, but especially if you're like me in that perimenopause state. So adrenals, I just want to clear the breeze here. Adrenals don't just burn out, but stress signaling becomes dysregulated. So symptoms that we'll hear from women when they're addressing adrenal health is they're wired but tired. And then you get that 2 to 3 a.m. wake up calls, like I was talking about, when your blood sugar is dysregulated. And this increase of blood sugar and then drops of blood sugar in the night can stimulate your cortisol to rise, and then that can cause some anxiety. It can cause afternoon crashes. And then what do? You grab a latte or a coffee, and you're like, hey, I can just get through the day if I have some caffeine. And so you're just trying to really, you're not thriving anymore. You're just really trying to manage the symptoms. And so some things that are key points here for your adrenals: cortisol rhythm matters. So you want to make sure that you're mimicking and finding your circadian rhythms, finding a way for your body to get into that parasympathetic system. And then these systems can also affect, of course, your hormone health, your female hormones, and then also your thyroid function. And then absolutely stress can feed into blood sugar swings, which can lead into hormone imbalances, which can be a strain on your thyroid. So it's really one of those cycles where we have to break that cycle and help you guide you through that. So this is why we don't just treat the symptoms or these systems separately. We really have to look at it in a big picture approach.
Yeah, thank you. That was some really, really good foundational information. I'm going to speak from the perspective now of menopause and postmenopause, because I'm a little bit older than Tara. I'm in my early 50s, and I am postmenopausal. So I just want to share the things on my journey that I've learned, and I would have loved for someone to tell me this. You're learning all this stuff, and I learned it in a book, right? So you learn all this stuff, but it's another whole different animal when you're going through it yourself and experientially. It's like, how do you describe what it's like to be pregnant and deliver a baby to somebody who's never had that experience? It's just such a profound experience that it really helps to have done it. Yeah. So here's what happens in menopause. Your estrogen and your progesterone shift, and they really what happens is they drop. Right. the floor kind of just drops out on all of it. A lot of women will experience sleep disruptions, mood changes, kind of this spare tire, chubby belly thing. Mm-hmm. Hot flashes. Not everybody gets them, but I have had some wicked hot flashes, and they are terrible. Yeah. A loss of muscle mass and an increased cardiovascular risk. So I'm going to be totally transparent and share something that is embarrassing, really, kind of frankly. But I do bone density scans with a DEXA scan. And there's a gentleman in town. His name is Adam Wright, and he's awesome. If you live in Branson and you need a DEXA scan, he runs the full body DEXA. And it gives you your bone density, but it also tells you what your body fat is like. And so I gained 4% body fat when I went through menopause. Like, that's a lot. Yeah. And I had to really kind of look myself in the mirror and go, okay, girl, what you were doing before menopause no longer works anymore. Yeah. And I did lose some bone density too. And now, thankfully, I have really good bone density, so it's normal, and it's to be expected that your bone density is going to decrease after menopause and as you get older. But I'm going to fight this with everything in me because it's super important. Yes. And so what I had to do is I've got to be zealous about protein. Yeah. That was something I could get away with not eating as much of when I was in my 30s, but now in my 50s, I've got to have protein. Yep. I notice a big difference when I do that. I have to lift heavy weights. Mm-hmm. I could get away with doing more cardio because I like running and I like that more so than I do lifting the heavy stuff, but I've got to do that. Sleep disruption. Yeah, my progesterone historically, that's been a struggle for me. And I know this because I've been testing my own hormones for years. And so, I sometimes need to actually use a topical or some kind of progesterone to help me sleep. It's like when you're tired and you just can't sleep. Yeah. So that
optimize
helps me.
Those hormones.
Yeah, absolutely. That helps a ton. The other thing is joint issues. Mm-hmm. And it's estimated that about 25% of women, when they go through menopause, have really excruciating hip pain.
Yes, and I hear that a lot.
I have dealt with that personally. What estrogen does is it makes your joints less supple, and so it can create inflammation in your joints. It's gluteal tendinopathy is the term for that. And balancing your blood sugar and eating more protein and all those things that we do on the functional health side is super important. And one of the lifesavers for me too has been also, we have a chiropractic side of our practice, and we use something called acoustic wave therapy. And if I didn't get that done on my hips, I wouldn't have been able to sleep. Yeah. And thankfully it's not something you have to do a ton of. 6 or 8 treatments and you're done. And but it's amazing. And it just I couldn't sleep on my side. I couldn't lay on my side. It's just, so if that's you, check that out, because it's a game changer. So those are the things that I've noticed. And just some of it is making peace with, is your body going to be the same body at 53 that it was at 25? No, it's not. So some of that is changing your expectations and being the best 53-year-old. I'm never going to run as fast or be as strong in my 50s as I was at the peak of my physiology at, say, 30.
Sure.
But I can be the best I can be now. I'm learning to come to terms with that.
Girl, I think you're looking pretty good.
Thank you. I think you look good too. I still can't keep up with you, but I'm trying my best. So the other thing that I've noticed is estrogen affects your insulin sensitivity. So the carb tolerance. I've always been able to eat basically as many carbs as I wanted, because I was very active, and that's my body type. I can handle more carbs than some people, but not anymore. I have got to be more protein focused. I can still tolerate probably more carbs than a lot of people, but they have to be clean, and I have to have the protein. Progesterone is also, it calms neurotransmitters. So if I notice when my progesterone is off too, it's too low, I get really agitated. That's when I can't sleep. So progesterone has been a big game changer for me. Things like that. So, and we test all that stuff, and we work with stuff. I wouldn't just recommend going out and grabbing some progesterone and slathering it on and not knowing what you're doing. Right. But, talking through it, and if you need labs, something like that. But the key message here is that we don't have a disease when we go through menopause. It's natural. It's healthy. Yeah. We want to do it well, but it is a metabolic shift, and we have to understand it.
Absolutely. And that's really the heart behind not just the event that we're hosting here at the office, but really our practice is that we want to serve the forgotten woman well. And we are going to be having an event coming up at our office, our newly remodeled and expanded office. And so we want you all to see that, and we would love for you to join us here in the office at Thrive Functional Health and join us for an event coming up on March 30th for the Forgotten Woman. We are inviting women who they know something's wrong, that something's up, but their labs are maybe normal, and you feel unheard, and you're tired of being told you're fine. And so this event, it'll be just some light snacks. We'll have a presentation. We'll have time for questions that we would love just to meet you and to get to know your story a little bit. And so,
so we want this to be a safe space for you. We're not going to do a sales pitch. We're not going to rush you through a visit. We're going to provide some education, some clarity, some community. We were actually out on a run when we came up with the idea for this. We're like, let's have an event in the office. We've got this beautiful new space. There are so many women. This idea that you're kind of forgotten. The idea is that the medical system is leaving us behind. Yes. There's almost no emphasis on menopause and perimenopause because there's not a drug for it, right? Let's face it. That's why nobody cares about it. But we want this to be fun. We want you to get some value.
Bring your
want
girlfriend.
To show off our new space. Bring your friend. We're going to get some food, some snacks, and have a good time.
Yeah. So if you've ever said, I don't feel like myself anymore, this event is for you. Details and registration information will be in the show notes, so check that out. And if you can't attend, this episode is certainly a starting point. So maybe take some notes and some points from today. Yeah,
you're not crazy. You're not lazy. You're not broken. You just need the right community, some good information, and a plan to feel better if you're not feeling better right now, to thrive through perimenopause, menopause, and beyond.
Absolutely. So your body is communicating, and we believe women deserve to understand what it's saying. So thank you for listening to Health Hacks, and we hope to see you on March 30th.